Staying in the U.S. for a look at what the U.S. papers have been saying as the country marks 250 years of independence this weekend. I'm joined by Deeptika Laurent. Deepti, what do you have for us?
Well, an anniversary, of course, that comes at a tumultuous time in U.S. politics, but also in world politics and general state of affairs. The Washington Post's David Ignatius is rather honest, brutally honest about how he sees the U.S. after 250 years, writing in today's Washington Post, I quote, "Today we resemble the Imperial Britain of 1776 more than the scruffy patriots who rebelled against it, a nation with an appalling gap between rich and poor." He also decries the broken education system. So this is from the Washington Post, this article here. He describes America as a nation in late middle age, showing signs of decline, a nation that feels like it's rather been split into two nations rather than having the unity of one. The Washington Times, a conservative publication, a lot more optimistic in its view of things. This was on its front page of its website, looking at all of America's unsung inventions in 250 years. Allison, from refrigerators to national parks to rock and roll, just to name a few. And in its article here, it explains that the U.S. has been blessed and the U.S. has blessed the world. It says, this is an article written by Mike Pompeo, Donald Trump's former Secretary of State, who writes that the U.S. has not only survived 250 years, but has become the, quote, freest, wealthiest, and most powerful country in the world. He says that America's days are still ahead of us and not behind us, hailing American exceptionalism and the quote, grit, determination, and character of Americans.
Right, so a pretty ideological split there then in
Exactly.
the U.S. papers, unsurprisingly. Here in Europe, how are things seen?
Well, let's bring up, this is from Der Spiegel, which is a German a weekly magazine here, which says rather cynically, the American democracy has survived 250 years, but wonders if it can even survive Donald Trump. It says that U.S. democracy is a tenacious beast, but one that has been rivaled by contradictions, which are never more apparent than in Donald Trump's administration. And actually on the back of that, you have this article from, this illustration from Ben Jennings, the Guardian's cartoonist, who offers us his updated version of German-American painter Emanuel Leutz's Washington Crossing the Delaware painting. Here is Donald Trump. You've got his VP there. You've got his son with his golf clubs, Melania with her hat. You've got ICE agents, guns, crypto money, and bags of cash. All of this in a gilded boat there, raft, if you like, Alison.
All right, and of course, this 4th of July comes amid a huge heat wave that the U.S. is facing. The New York Times today is looking at another issue related to climate change. This is Europe's glaciers, which are under extreme strain. That's after 2 devastating heat waves that we've had in recent months.
Yeah, that's right, and possibly a third one that has been predicted for some time in July. Now, Europe's recent heat waves have actually erased the snow atop the glaciers far more quickly than it should have. According to one glaciologist cited by the New York Times here, the situation of the Swiss glaciers right now is where it normally is in August. The melting of the snow means that the ice underneath is exposed and could melt away and is melting away rapidly in the coming months. It is, to quote the glaciologist, very worrying because the knock-on effects are really serious. The Alps provides drinking water to most of Europe. It cools nuclear plants. It's important in farming and hydroenergy production. If the ice disappears, well, that's the end of the glacier. There's no going back from this. And of course, as you can imagine, it'll put water supply under great strain, affect farming. And this is not something the glaciologist says, we're not talking about in 100 years, we're talking 10, 20 years. And just to give you an idea here, we brought it up. This was the situation on June 29th, and this was the situation some 18 days earlier. Let's see if I can bring it up for you. And basically what you can see, that blue pattern there is vegetation that has grown, has been left exposed at a very, very quick rate in just a space of 18 days there.
Scary stuff. Deepti. We're going to move on to something a little bit lighter, some World Cup news. The British paper is already in a frenzy ahead of England's next game against Mexico coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. Look at these headlines here, Alison. England's big all-nighter. Pubs will be open until 5 a.m. on Monday so that Brits can follow that game against Mexico in Mexico. Mexican rave, the Daily Mirror says. You've got the Daily Star here. Mextra time, so they're really pulling out every pun they can find today. And tequila sunrise. Here's hoping that, well, either way, the match will be very tense for both sides.
Yeah, summarizes the difficulty also facing all of us European viewers of the World Cup, having to stay up late.
Exactly.
And finally, Deepti, in the midst of this huge World Cup weekend, there's another big event that some people might be even more interested, depending on who you are. This is Taylor Swift's anticipated celebration of her wedding, which may or may not have already taken place.
Well, that's it. Page 6 tells us that they already had their legal wedding with rumors of a small ceremony taking place in Tennessee, where Taylor Swift moved as a young woman to become a singer. New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani has hinted that there might be a wedding party at Madison Square Garden this weekend. So, Alison, you've got the Tour de France that starts this weekend, you've got the World Cup, and this wedding might be the most closely watched event of the weekend.
All right, I'll have to, lots to look at. I think I'm interested in all of it. I'd like to see the photos from the wedding.
Indeed, me too.
Those will be released quickly. Deepti, thank you so much, as always, for that look through today's papers.